Okay, and we are here with Breakthrough 2020. Again, the mission or the desire of this show for me and the folks that I'm bringing on is to really help you find a place where you can get really information in a world that's crowded with so much distraction right now. There are tons of people out in the marketplace, either trying to provide a service or trying to help give direction, or even people who are trying to figure out what to do, what next, and so they get stuck. And what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are getting stuck. And so I wanted to create a channel. Again, I'm Jason Lee, and the purpose of the channel is to help people find solutions. And so over the next month, I'm going to be bringing all the phenomenal people that I've met in my last 20 years of building and forming great relationships that I believe are bringing true value to the marketplace, value to people, have upstanding moral compass, and are out there to serve, and at the same time have got phenomenal entrepreneurial journeys. Breakthrough happens through broken processes. And over the last 60 days, a lot of people are going to be broken. They're going to experience really some shift in their life, whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, through their career, or even financially. There's going to be a way for them to break through. And I just want to provide a channel and a resource with phenomenal people who can help you do that. So again, today I'm joined by Elizabeth Griever from Everson Cooper. Elizabeth, hi.
Hey, Jason, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And the service that you're doing for these people, I think is tremendous. So thank you.
That's great. And so again, Elizabeth helps people sell their houses as is, okay? But she's a lot more than just a person who helps run a business. She's also a community advocate in the area that she lives in. She gets behind tremendous organizations. She spends the majority of her life in service. And in addition to that, she runs a business. And so it's really great to have her joining us today. And I'm excited to talk. Today's really, brief episode is really to help you understand if you're stuck and you need to get out of your house, you need to sell it. You're thinking about getting in the market. Perhaps you were put in a bind. You got to figure some things out. I wanted Elizabeth to help share the pros and the cons of that situation and how that process might work for somebody looking, that's maybe they've lost their job and they need to take a job in another state. They got to get out of town. So there might be a reason why it makes sense, and she's going to share some of that. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? Kind of give us a synopsis of who you are, what you're about, and Everson Cooper's mission.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity to be here and share all of that. I actually moved to Texas about 10 years ago, and I was a special education teacher. So I taught math for 6 years, but I always wanted to get into real estate investing. Both my husband and I have grandparents that are in their 90s who are real estate investors. And so it's something we always wanted to do. We just didn't quite know the path to do that and how to really get involved in it. Long story short, about 6 years into my education career, I learned about real estate investing and some strategies and how we could get involved in the market. And I was like, I can do this. Like, I can totally do this. But we wanted to create a business that was about our family and our legacy that we were going to leave for our children and our grandchildren and in this community. So in May of 2016, we formed our LLC, Everson Cooper. Ever is the last part of Griever, which is our married name. San is the first part of Santangelo, which is my maiden name. And Cooper is our 15-year-old chocolate lab that we love and adore, that we think the sun just rises and sets on this dog. And he's part of our family. So Everson Cooper is our family company, and we are your as-is home buyers. So we buy houses that are dated, they need work, anything from it just hasn't been touched for years, it needs all kinds of upgrades, to there's holes in the roof and the AC's broken and all that kind of stuff. And we buy those houses and then we fix them up to rent and fix them up to sell. So we believe really hard that our mission is to provide safe and beautiful places for people to live and grow, both figuratively and literally. And so we strive to do that every day in the work that we do in the community in our business, and the work that we do in our community with some of the nonprofit things and stuff like that you had mentioned. So that's a little bit about, I guess, where I came from and why we got into real estate investing.
That's great. And we'll talk as we wrap up, because this show, if not for helping somebody understand that and maybe selling their house as is isn't the time, but perhaps they're inspired by your story, or they're inspired by your leadership, and that helps them create a jump off point for something new. And so we'll talk about some of the things you're doing from a leadership community perspective as we wrap up. But tell me a little bit about really the process. So what have you seen in your time? What are the typical things that translate to, it makes sense to potentially pursue a as is sell of my home as opposed to a traditional one? So let's start there.
Yeah, for
What might
sure.
be a reason why I need to pick up the phone and call somebody to sell my house as is?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times the families that we are working with are in some sort of transition. So sometimes it's senior adults who have been in their homes for 30 or 40 years and they're moving in with family. They're moving into a senior living community. Sometimes when they've passed away, if there is any sort of a divorce, or sometimes it's just a job transition, like, hey, I'm moving, to a different city or a different state. I need to sell my house. And so when somebody is looking to sell their house, they have options, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, that there are options for what to do when you want to sell your house. You can do for sale by owner. You can call a realtor and list it on the market, or you can call an investor and sell it as is. And there's pros and cons to all of those things, but that come to us that want to sell as is and are looking to us to purchase it are people who have homes that need some work. It could be very dated, like hasn't been touched in 30 years, and it still has the linoleum countertops and the green 70s carpet, and those really eccentric details that were very prevalent in the 70s and 80s and aren't necessarily attractive to today's home buyer, like for a family that's going to live in that home. But the house is still in good shape. It just needs a lot of work. So that family that's selling that home doesn't want to do all the renovations that they need to in order to bring it to market and sell it to a first-time home buyer or a family that's trying to find a bigger home for their kids, or things like that. So they don't want to sell. Sometimes, or they don't want to do the work, excuse me. And then sometimes we're working with people that started maybe to do the renovations, or they started to DIY some projects, or fix the roof, or fix the AC, or replace the flooring. And then for any number of reasons, that project kind of gets shut down. Run out of money, run out of resources. They kind of hit a wall and they're not sure how to fix the problem that they've run into. And now they're living without an AC, or with a hole in the roof, or with floors half done, or any number of things like that. And now it's time to move for some other reason, right? Like sometimes they're just tired of living in that. And then
Mm-hmm.
other times it's, hey, I've got a job and I need to move, but now I have this house that's not completely put together and I need to sell it. So again, that's a house where a first-time home buyer or somebody with a family may not really want to buy a fixer-upper like that, a house that needs some work. And so selling it as is makes sense to that family so that they don't have to do all that work. They don't have to worry about inspections coming in and saying, oh, this AC is not working. Now I need you to replace the AC, or things like that. Like they don't have to worry about all that extra stuff that comes with selling their house traditionally, because we as the as is home buyer are buying it exactly in the condition that it is in, and the offer that we're making is merited based on that condition.
Wow.
So those are just some of the examples of people that are in spots where an as-is sale might make the most sense for them.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I've been trying to convince my wife that that linoleum and shag carpet was going to make a comeback, and that we should keep it. But now I believe, with your professional opinion, I'm going to end up having to upgrade some things. So
You might
um,
need to upgrade that. That's right.
now, part of the reason why I reached out is, as I understood that we are in a disruptive environment right now, and you talked about transition. Now, hopefully, again, fingers crossed, people are able to recover sooner than later. But we
Yeah.
do understand that there are some monumental things that have taken place, and things that are going to be taking place over the next year. That, let's be honest, it's going to be a fight for a lot of folks, and so I'm an optimist, so I'm going to hope that it goes well. With that being said, I want to make sure that people understood a little bit about how that works. Now, um, what about traditional? Like you mentioned a lot about, these are the reasons why, and a lot of those make sense. And transition sounds, I think that's going to happen pretty quick. Um, Tell me why maybe it's a better fit to, what are some, I guess, not disqualifiers, but things that people should consider up front. Like, okay, maybe even selling as is isn't the right option. Maybe I need to go. So what are some things that you've seen in the past where it makes more sense to traditionally go a traditional route, or potentially put it on the rental market? Because I know sometimes selling as is maybe isn't an option. So tell me about that.
For sure. So We're not realtors, but
Okay.
certainly there's a great fit for them. They are such a service to our community, and people do often reach out to realtors first when they want to sell their house, as they should. And just as a side note, we do work with realtors all the time because sometimes these families in transition reach out to a realtor and they still need somebody to buy the house. The realtor can represent them and we can still come in and purchase. So even if a family is already working with a realtor or wants to be represented by a realtor, that does not eliminate them from being able to work with us as well.
Great.
But if they are working with a realtor to take it to the market traditionally, so that would be a spot where the house is in good shape. There's not a lot of repairs or upgrades or things going on. It's a very livable home that a family would want to move into, that's going to pass inspection, that's going to appraise for the full market value or, very close to it. And it doesn't need a lot of the work to go into it. And so we have had people call us sometimes that want to get a cash offer for their house, but they just renovated, but they're maybe trying to not work with a realtor. They want to kind of do that for sale by owner route. And we'll certainly talk to them about it. And if they want a cash offer, I'll give it to them. But a lot of times it doesn't make sense because I have to make it make sense for us for a business, which means I have to offer less than really probably the house is physically worth because I have to have some space in there. And that's not really a fit for them unless for some reason the timing, they really need that quick speed of an investor. I need a purchase in 10 days or less. And then that kind of makes sense for them. But really, if that house is in good shape and doesn't need a lot of work and you're not worried about all these inspection contingencies coming up, taking it to the traditional market is where you're going to get that full market value. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking these houses that are as is, we're fixing them, we're renovating them, we're working to them and adding value. And then again, taking them to market for that full market value to sell the house. Well, it's the same thing with a homeowner. If the homeowner's already got a house that's in a spot where it's in really good shape, or maybe for you, for example, flipping out shag carpet and the linoleum flooring isn't going to be a big expense for you to then turn around and go sell it on the market if those are the only things that you really have going on.
Right.
It makes sense for you to just kind of sink a little bit of money in there and then get it right back. Versus when there's a whole laundry list of stuff to do. So, when you're taking it to market, there is some sort of expectation that you have done some work to it because that's what people are looking for. They don't usually want houses that they're going to live in that have to be fixed up. And so that's where it can be hard and you can start to lose value is if you're taking it to market and you're expecting to get full market value for a house that's not renovated. It's going to sit. It's going to get a lot of low offers. And your target audience for that house is not a first-time home buyer or family. It's it's an investor. It's somebody
Right.
that's going to come in and renovate it and upgrade it. So you just have to think about where your house is kind of on the scale of completely renovated to, oh my goodness, it needs a little bit of everything, to make the house really good. And where is that going to make sense?
Well, I
did
think,
I answer your question?
Absolutely. And I actually am very thankful. And part of the reason I had you on as a person to talk about this experience is that you have a very empathetic and compassionate approach and one that sustains full transparency. And that allows somebody to make an educated decision. So that's the beauty of it, right? You work with realtors. So if the answer is it's a better option, they know that, that's a real thing, right? So, meaning, there's nothing wrong with your business of getting that house up to market value so somebody can get out and get into the next chapter of their life. That's a beautiful thing. It's actually a helpful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that because it allows that house to marinate for a little bit longer, get to the place and get to the eventual buyer and get that person some cash fast, which is beautiful. At the same token, if it's really is maybe it's a stress situation, but that house is already there. It's already market ready. Great. Then get them with a realtor, get with the right person. And I know you're connected to do that. And even for those that are not in your space, your area that are potentially watching this show, there's a connection out there for somebody who's willing to serve you. But I wanted them to understand from you, from a kind of really from the person who's in the driver's seat of that type of relationship, the benefit of being able to move the house fast, and kind of what that process felt like.
Right. And that's really what they have to decide is how quickly do I need this to sell, or what kind of flexibility do I need too? Because we've got people that are, moving on, like I said, to a senior living facility. They're moving out of state. Maybe they're building a new house. And so there's a lot of things that they're waiting on. And so sometimes they need to know I have my house sold, but we can't close for 2 months because I can't move out for 2 months, and so that's the other positive of working with a company like us is that we give that flexibility to the homeowner to say, okay, yes, I've got my house sold, but we're actually not closing until the end of June. And then I'm going to do a lease back or, whatever to give myself time to move. And so we can offer flexibility that when you take it to the traditional market, there's not always there. So again, if anybody ever wants to talk about, does it make sense? Like if you were to call me and say, hey, Elizabeth, I'm trying to decide if I put all this money into my house or if I sell it as is, we will talk through those pros and cons with you or anybody that calls us and say, like, if you're selling it as is, here are all the good things about this and all the flexibility that you have and the guarantee and all this kind of stuff. But then here are the negatives. Like maybe you could have put $10,000 in and gotten it right back by selling your house for $10,000 more, and so we'll talk through that so that the homeowner really can visualize their options and choose something that's going to be the right fit for them.
Fantastic. And so, well, thank you so much for sharing a bit about that as we get ready to transition out from, really the information share that you gave today. I think there's a lot of good information there. Let's talk a little bit about just your passion for leadership and community. So again, for the entrepreneurs that are watching this episode, if you're paying attention to this and maybe selling your house for cash isn't why you're here, maybe you're just here to understand that in case you know somebody who does, but you're looking at becoming an entrepreneur. I think Elizabeth has done a phenomenal job of personal branding. And so if you listen to her story or look into her, you can find out that she's authentic, she's sincere, and she's out serving as a way to then create opportunities for conversations, not the other way around. I think she's built, I've literally watched her build a brand in her circle up in the Woodlands, Texas. And so a lot of that's been by syncing up with great people and then bringing great value. So tell me a little bit about some of your passion to serve, the things that you've done inside of that, and then a little bit about inspired leaders as we get ready to wrap up.
Thank you. Well, like I said, I moved here about 10 years ago, and I love the Woodlands. We do not have family here, but we have created family here with the people in this community. The greater Houston area is really a tremendous place to live and build a life for yourself and your family. I say it every month at Inspired Leaders because it's so, so true. Everybody here wants to help each other. They want to see each other grow and be successful. They want to provide resources. They want to provide support and encouragement. They want to figure out how to collaborate. I mean, unlike anything I've ever seen before in my life, you almost can't fail here, right? Because once you get into a circle, people want to see you rise and see you move forward. And I guess I kind of glazed over the fact that I quit teaching and started Everson Cooper because it certainly was not an easy process. It still is not an easy process. We're 4 years in and growing and learning all the time. But I did not do that alone. Yes, one day just went up to school, met with my principal, and quit my teaching job, crying the whole way there, terrified of what I was doing, afraid of going from a very safe job that I knew I was good at and I knew I could do to something completely terrifying that I didn't know when I was going to get paid. I had no idea if I could be successful at it, all the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur and starting a business. But I did that with the confidence of the people in the community that I met and them sharing their stories with me, them sharing their successes and their failures and mistakes they've made and things they wish they'd done and how they wish they quit sooner. And, all these different things that I was learning from people that I was looking at as, holy cow, these people have it together. They're so successful. They're running these tremendous businesses. I didn't know that they struggled along the way, that they still struggle now, that they've got all this stuff to work through. Like you look at these people and you think they got it all figured out. They know exactly what they're doing. They had the formula, they punched the numbers in and they were good to go. And it's not true. And it's so, so important for people to realize when they're building a business that is not true. Um,
Yeah.
it's just not.
So the old
They
overnight success story is not a real thing.
not a
Yeah,
real
yeah,
thing, Jason. Did
exactly.
you know
Yeah.
that? It is patience, it's positivity, it's persistence, it is like getting up when you after you have fallen. And I think that it's important for people to recognize that. And so I got a lot of encouragement from people when I was starting to network, and we started Everson Cooper, but before I quit my teaching business, because I did that over the summertime, or teaching business, my teaching career, I did that over the summertime. And I was meeting with all these people and they were telling me all this stuff. And I was like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've got these support people around me all the time, every day, and the same struggle that I'm in to build this life and this legacy and this business. So I'm not alone. And not too long after I started my business, we started Inspired Leaders. And the whole purpose, and it really came into its own. It didn't actually start this way. It started as like a tactical business meeting where, I brought in professionals about marketing and different things like that to kind of teach business owners some tricks or something fancy about Facebook or, whatever. And it turned into this event where people were coming in and sharing these very vulnerable, real, raw stories about themselves, their failures, their successes, how they are where they are today. And it's been tremendous. And so I ask people in the community that I see as leaders, that I see as successful, to come in and share their stories and to tell us their low moments, as vulnerable as they're willing to get. I ask them to be, tell me about a really low time. Tell me about what you did to get out of that, how you work to stay out of that. What do you do when you fall again? And share those stories with the people who attend, so that all of us sitting in the audience can look at that person and realize, man, they're just like me. Like, they are just like me. They have the same negative thoughts in their heads that I do, or they have that same, man, I can't do this, I don't know how I'm going to keep going on, that I do. They struggled to start their business and it was years before they were profitable. I can relate to that. Any type of situation where the people in the audience can see that they're not alone in building their business and their life. And it's okay to be low. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not know what to do, but it's not okay to not stop moving. It's not okay to not keep trying. And that's the whole purpose of all of this. So Inspired Leaders really created itself. It turned into its own magical thing. And it's once a month, second Friday of every month. And everybody's welcome. Literally everybody's welcome. There's no membership. It does not cost to come. There could be a room full of financial advisors just like yourself, room full of realtors, room full of investors. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not about a seat. It's not about passing leads and referrals. Those groups are great and they have their purpose, but Inspired Leaders is about us coming together and supporting each other. And my hope is that when these people are in this room together and they hear this speaker, that they then feel confident that they can turn to somebody in the room, whether it's me, the person next to them, the speaker, and say, man, Jason, I'm really struggling right now. I'm trying to figure out how to scale my business and I have no idea how to do that. Or I just had to fire an employee and I don't know what to do now. Or how in the world do you market on Facebook? Or, any of these things that are part of being a business owner that people are struggling with. Like, it's my hope that at Inspired Leaders, they can be connected with somebody and feel connected with somebody, that they can ask for help and be vulnerable and know that, that they're not alone. And so we do, our commercials, we want people to do business together, but really we want people to build relationships and get some strength and get some encouragement from the speakers and from the people around them to keep going and keep pushing on.
That's awesome. Well, I've got two honest things I'll share with you. First of all, what you had mentioned about asking for help. Og Mandino really beautifully put it when he said that every creature God put on this earth has the ability to cry for help. It's the one thing they all have in common. Whether you're my dog wants something, he yelps. When my cat wants something, they meow. And when we need things, we tend to want to ask for help, but we shy away from it. It's the most, and that's because of pride. And so I think as people start to feel comfortable and become part of a culture, they have the capacity to ask for help. And that was the intent or design when God woke me up to say, I want to bring phenomenal resources to people. And what's funny is I was actually afraid. I've waited for 5 or 6 days to actually take action on this, because I thought to myself, who's going to want to pay attention to this, right? God put it on my heart like about 6 days ago. I woke up at like 3 and I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll bring all my friends together and let them tell their story. And then I thought, well, other people are doing this, so why does it matter? And I said, well, you know what? It's on my heart. So I know great people and I'm just going to do it. So, let's see what happens. It's really not about business. If it helps one person, right? If it helps one person push forward, it was worth the time, right? Because the second thing you had mentioned a second ago was it was about relationships, and I think you're spot on. At the end of our days, whether it's a year from now, tomorrow, or 40 years from now, I don't think anybody's going to remember, your podcast or your channel. They are going to remember you. They're going to remember that moment when they could confide in you or trust you, or that thing you did for them. And so I think that's the game changer. It's part of the reason why I had you join me today, because I've always admired you. I think you're just sincere and transparent. You go into the world with a desire to serve and help. And I look up to you in a lot of ways, because I see the work that you're doing, and I'm a little behind the curve when it comes to, I'm having to push out of my comfort zones, because I typically offload social media type stuff to other people. I write content and then I let other people who are better at putting all the fancy stuff into it. And so this will probably be a little raw to start with, because I got to figure out how to edit and do things down the road, and I'm not going to get there yet. I'm going to hurry up and get information out. But hey, we're all growing, right? So, and that's the purpose of this. So it's about breaking through, getting to the next level. I do want you to know that you're a tremendous value add to just people in general. We appreciate the work that you're doing. I want the people tuned into this. You can always reach out to Elizabeth. Again, a reminder that this platform is designed to share information. You don't ever have to worry about someone going back and reaching out to you because you watched this and thinking that you might be a prospect or something like that. The intent here is not to come to a place and feel like you're getting sold. It's to come to a place and get phenomenal, valuable information from industry professionals who care, want you to know, and want you to strive, and want you to break through. They're passionate about leadership, and they're passionate about the next level. So Elizabeth, if you have anything else, or
well, I just want to encourage you that I think what you're doing is tremendous. And it doesn't have to be perfect for you to get started. It does not have to be perfect for you to go to market. It's perfect that you're doing it. And so just put it out there. It doesn't matter if it's not edited. If it doesn't matter if you don't have fancy intros and outros. Is that the word?
Yeah, outros.
It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're doing it and that you're trying. And as you build this, you'll learn more and you'll have better editing skills and you'll get some fancy intro and you'll, all the things, but put it out there now, because somebody needs to see what you're doing now and somebody needs your support and encouragement now. So don't overthink the fact that the video is not perfect, or, oh, I said something silly, or that doesn't look right, or whatever. Like, you just do it and just put it out there. And I think it's great that you're just getting started and you're not like, I need a fancy tech company and this person to record this and edit this.
Well, it's
like
funny.
Those things are great and they have the purpose, but you don't need them yet.
It's funny because everything in business is done via LinkedIn, and that's where I'm suit tie everything, because that's my business thing. The whole purpose of doing the show was that I was not going to do anything related to my business. This is just my network and the people that inside my network. And so and you just hit the nail on the head. I didn't want to wait to figure out, approvals and all the things to get it to market, because that's what I have to work through from a compliance perspective. I literally emailed compliance and said, all I'm doing is interviewing great people because people need help. And I'm not going to talk about work. I'm not going to talk to you. This doesn't tie back to the work that I'm doing. And half the time I'm not even going to be in a suit. So just, can I hurry up and do this? Because people need to get information, and they signed off on it. And so, that was the plan. So got a lot of great interviews lined up this week. You've been fantastic. And I appreciate you so much. God bless you. And we will see you hopefully soon. I'll be able to come up to the north side and have some coffee with my good friends up there. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.